In March 2024, a single photo of a Five Guys receipt went viral across social media, racking up over 25 million views within days. $24.10 for a single bacon cheeseburger, a small order of fries, and a regular drink. Not a family meal, not a sit-down restaurant, just one person's quick lunch. The backlash was immediate and fierce. $24 for fast food. That's highway robbery. Overnight, consumers everywhere began asking the same question. How did a quick bite at a casual neighborhood burger joint suddenly turn into a serious financial decision? To understand how a fast food hamburger reached $24, you have to rewind to the early 2010s, the golden age of fast casual dining right after the 2008 financial crisis. Following the Great Recession, consumer behavior shifted dramatically. Millions of middle-class American families could no longer afford upscale full-service restaurants. But at the same time, they were completely fed up with the industrial, low-grade offering from traditional fast food giants like McDonald's and Burger King. People were tired of rock-hard frozen patties, depressing assembly lines, and feeling like a cog in a corporate drive-thru. They wanted something better, fresh, high quality, and premium, yet still accessible. Enter Five Guys. Starting in 1986, Five Guys was just a small, family-run burger joint in Arlington, Virginia. Founder Jerry Merle and his sons had no grand ambitions of building a global empire. For nearly 2 decades, they kept the business strictly local, opening just a handful of spots around the Washington, D.C. area. Five Guys didn't position itself as cheap fast food. Instead, they pioneered a concept known as affordable luxury. Their formula attacked every sense: 100% fresh beef, never once frozen, hand pattied every morning, fresh potatoes chopped on site and fried exclusively in pure peanut oil, free roasted peanuts to snack on while you waited, and brown paper bags overflowing with extra fries tossed into the bottom. Was it cheap? Absolutely not. Back in the early 2010s, a standard McDonald's or Burger King meal set you back around $4.50. Five Guys charged about $7 to $8 for a burger and fries. That meant customers had to pay an extra $2 or $3 out of pocket. But for just $2 or $3 more, the value contrast was night and day. For that tiny price bump, you didn't get a frozen, paper-thin patty. You got 2 massive, 100% fresh beef patties, hand-shaped that morning. You got an avalanche of fresh Idaho potatoes, hand-cut on site, fried in pure peanut oil, and overflowing in a grease-stained brown paper bag. You got 15 free toppings with over 250,000 order combinations, plus unlimited roasted peanuts while you waited. This confidence was backed by a fierce, unyielding business philosophy from founder Jerry Merle and his family. The Merles famously declared, "We don't spend a single dollar on traditional advertising. We put all our money into the food." Rather than burning millions on flashy TV commercials, Five Guys channeled their budget into strict quality control and direct bonus programs for high-performing stores. Did people buy into it? They didn't just buy into it. They flooded through the doors in record numbers. Five Guys exploded into the fastest-growing restaurant chain in America, expanding by over 1,000% in just a few short years. In major national consumer polls like Zagat and Market Force, Five Guys repeatedly snatched the #1 spot for best burger and overall food quality, crushing McDonald's and Burger King. More importantly, they built a cult-like brand loyalty. Over 80% of their traffic came from repeat customers who willingly passed up cheaper fast food every single week because the quality was simply unmatched. Most fast food chains are engineered like industrial manufacturing plants. Industry leaders like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King built their empires on frozen inventory, precise digital timers, and minimal labor, prioritizing speed and low overhead above all else. Five Guys threw that entire fast food playbook in the trash. Instead, they committed to an uncompromising, old-school operational model built on three absolute rules: no freezers, no timers, and no microwaves. Everything served to the customer had to be prepared fresh, by hand, every single morning. That relentless commitment to quality became the exact engine powering their incredible success. The model thrived on pure, overwhelming volume. Packed dining rooms and massive foot traffic generated record-setting sales as customers gladly lined up for real, handcrafted burgers and mountains of fresh-cut fries. Customer loyalty was off the charts, and the entire operation hummed along seamlessly. So, what happens when Five Guys decides to break their rules in 2002 and open the floodgates to franchising? Murrell was notoriously skeptical of franchising, fearing that expansion would dilute the quality of his food. That's when his sons pitched a compromise Jerry couldn't refuse. What if franchising wasn't a dilution of quality, but a way to enforce it at scale? They brought in franchise growth experts like Dan Rowe, the CEO of Fransmart, and promised Jerry that they would write ironclad, uncompromising contracts. Any franchisee who dared to thaw a frozen patty, skip the fresh-cut potato routine, or disobey the operational playbook would be stripped of their store immediately. Only then, in 2002, did Jerry finally yield, opening the doors to franchising on the strict condition that his core philosophies remained 100% untouchable. What happened next was unprecedented in the history of the fast casual industry. Almost overnight, franchise requests flooded in from across the country. Experienced multi-unit operators and high-profile investors scrambled for a piece of the action. Even NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal jumped in, eventually acquiring 155 Five Guys locations, a massive portfolio that at one point represented roughly 10% of the company's entire global store network. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, Five Guys wasn't merely growing, it was exploding. It earned the title of fastest growing restaurant chain in the United States. Between 2006 and 2012, the chain went from roughly 150 locations to over 1,000 stores nationwide. A staggering growth spurt that earned them the official title of the fastest growing restaurant chain in America. System-wide sales skyrocketed from under $150 million in 2006 to over $1 billion by 2012. They popped up in suburban strip malls, shopping centers, and high-foot traffic plazas across every major American market. The macroeconomic timing couldn't have been better. Middle-class consumer spending was hitting its peak, and suburban families were more than willing to pay extra for a fresh, high-quality meal. The expansion was a runaway success. Millions of customers filed through the doors every week. Franchisees were minting money, and Five Guys looked completely unstoppable. As the growth machine expanded into a national behemoth, it spiraled completely out of the Murrell family's control, unleashing a chain of irreversible consequences that would change the business forever. Behind closed doors, this operational nightmare boiled down to three structural flaws. First, the operational model created an unprecedented overhead burden. Five Guys' uncompromising commitment to quality, no freezers, no automated timers, hand-pattied beef, 100% pure peanut oil, and fresh Idaho potatoes hand-cut daily, was a nightmare for franchisee profit margins. Without drive-thrus or automated equipment, running a single store during peak hours required up to 14 kitchen employees. That's nearly double the staffing overhead of an automated McDonald's kitchen. To make matters worse, Look at the actual dollars landing on the bottom line. A typical McDonald's location pulls in around $3.5 million in annual sales, generating a healthy net profit of roughly $500,000 to $700,000 per store every single year. Five Guys. A typical location brings in $1.3 million in sales, but after paying for all that heavy labor and fresh inventory, the store owner is left with a slim net profit of just $75,000 to $110,000. Franchisees were running a low-volume, hyper-expensive labor operation. They were trapped in a financial pressure cooker with virtually zero margin for error. Second, this aggressive push unleashed a wave of severe market cannibalization. In the gold rush to scale, corporate sold off massive multi-unit territory rights. Soon, Five Guys locations were sprouting up in suburban strip malls just 2 or 3 miles apart. While opening stores in a single suburban district increased total gross sales for corporate royalties, it destroyed per-store unit economics. Instead of one thriving location serving 2,000 customers a day, 2 neighboring locations ended up splitting that exact same customer pool. Franchisees were left swallowing the exact same massive operating expenses, full rent, full utilities, and full payroll. Except now, they had to cover it all with nearly half the revenue. This brought franchisees directly to the third crisis: a complete loss of price control and brand consistency. Trapped between soaring ingredient costs, skyrocketing minimum wages, and split customer traffic, franchise operators only had one lever left to pull to survive. They couldn't cut ingredient quality without violating their strict franchise agreements. They couldn't fire half the prep staff without crippling store operations. So they did the only thing left. They aggressively jacked up menu prices. Because Five Guys allows franchisees independent pricing flexibility to account for regional operating costs, prices began spiraling completely out of control. A cheeseburger that cost $6 in 2012 quietly jumped to $13. A small fry crossed the $5 mark. Five Guys corporate was rapidly losing control of its brand identity. The burger hadn't changed, the brown paper bag hadn't changed, and the metal chairs hadn't changed. But the price tag had doubled. The affordable luxury promise that built the empire was officially dead, replaced by an unpredictable patchwork of regional price gouging driven by desperate franchisees trying to keep their doors open. Which brings us to the ultimate tipping point. By the early 2020s, Five Guys had constructed an oversaturated, hyper-expensive franchise network where independent store owners were forced to charge fine dining prices just to survive their fixed overhead. The machine was stretched to its absolute limit, sustained only by the assumption that American consumers would keep paying whatever price tag was slapped on the menu board. In the early 2010s, customer behavior surrounding Five Guys was defined by high frequency and overwhelming brand loyalty. In Market Force Information's industry-wide survey of 4,500 consumers, Five Guys earned a staggering composite loyalty score, dethroning West Coast icon In-N-Out to officially claim the title of America's favorite burger chain. While traditional fast food titan McDonald's languished near the bottom, Five Guys stores were pulling in an impressive $1.2 to $1.4 million in average unit volume per location per year, all without a single drive-through window or a single dollar spent on TV advertising. Back then, the average check for an individual meal sat at a reasonable $9 to $11, meaning a suburban family of 4 could enjoy a fresh, handcrafted dinner for roughly $35. Industry data from that era showed that middle-income households, those earning between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, visited fast casual chains an average of 4 to 6 times a month. Five Guys was a staple of that routine. Consumers viewed the price premium over McDonald's not as a burden, but as a fair trade for fresh beef and hand-cut fries. The value to quality ratio was heavily in the brand's favor. Fast forward to today, and every single one of those winning numbers has completely inverted. The composite loyalty score plummeted to the absolute bottom of the fast casual category. For a suburban family of 4, an affordable dinner more than doubled to $75 to $85, turning a casual Tuesday night meal into a major financial expense. As a result, those middle-income families who used to visit cut their foot traffic by over 15%, stretching visits out to once every few months or walking away entirely. At the store level, while an average location still brings in around $1.3 million in sales, soaring beef prices, expensive peanut oil, and labor costs have crushed franchisee net margins down to a razor-thin 6 to 9%, leaving store owners with just $75,000 to $110,000 in take-home profit, while handing over $100,000 or more straight to corporate in royalties. The contrast couldn't be starker. The very metrics that once built America's favorite burger empire had officially turned into a high-price death spiral. Five Guys hasn't gone bankrupt. Their stores are still open, their burgers still taste as fresh as they did in 2010, and their fry scoops are just as generous. The product didn't get worse, and the company didn't cut corners. Instead, Five Guys fell victim to the ultimate franchising paradox. And that reveals a fundamental lesson in modern business. Franchising can build an empire overnight, but if your core operational model is hyper-expensive and rigid, rapid scale becomes your greatest strategic liability. When Five Guys opened the floodgates to nationwide franchising, corporate made a fatal assumption. They believed that hundreds of independent operators could forever absorb sky-high labor costs, fresh, never-frozen cold chains, and expensive peanut oil, all while keeping menu prices reasonable. But when inflation hit, franchisees were trapped. They couldn't alter the ingredients, and they couldn't automate the kitchens, and corporate wasn't cutting their royalty fees. The lesson for any growing brand is clear. Rapid expansion without sustainable store-level economics isn't real growth. It's simply handing your brand equity over to hundreds of franchisees who will do whatever it takes to survive, even if it means pricing your most loyal customers right out the door. Five Guys bet that brand loyalty would outweigh $24 receipts. But as thousands of empty tables now prove, no burger brand is immune to the brutal laws of franchise economics. So when was the last time you ate at Five Guys? And do you think corporate should step in to cap menu prices before franchisees push even more customers away? Let me know in the comments below. Because while Five Guys bet everything on rapid franchise expansion, one of their fiercest, legendary rivals took the exact opposite path. They refused to franchise a single location, kept every store strictly corporate-owned, and proved you can still serve fresh, handcrafted burgers without charging $24 a meal. Click the video on your screen right now to watch how going against the entire fast food playbook built one of the most profitable and secretive burger empires in American history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.